Good morning. Is that good, Ryan? Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Society of Northampton and Florence. I'm Ginny Furinger, your worship associate for this morning. During the summer, the ceiling of the Great Hall at the Unitarian Society is undergoing restoration, and we're grateful to be meeting here at Bombyx through August. Please see the USNF website for more details. If you are new or returning after a time away, we're glad to see you. To receive information about all that we do and to get on the mailing list, we direct you to our website where you can fill out an online welcome card. The greeters at the back of the sanctuary also have a QR code you can scan to access the welcome card, and there is a link to an online version in the chat. Visitors should look for anyone with a pink name tag to answer any questions that they might have. We strive to be a congregation that welcomes people of all ages, races, religious beliefs, backgrounds, sexual orientations, gender identities, and abilities. We belong to the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and we are guided and inspired by its values and principles. We're glad that you're joining us for summer services, which are often lay-led and less formal than during other parts of the year. Please see our website for complete information about summer services. Our interim minister, Reverend Eric Cherry, is currently away on vacation. And our new settled minister, Reverend Melissa Carville-Zemer, will begin her ministry with us on August 4th. We strive to be a congregation that welcomes people of all ages, races, religious beliefs. I think I just said that. I'll say it again. Backgrounds, sexual orientations, gender identities, and abilities. Our values and principles move us to remember that those of us in the Connecticut River Valley live on the unceded homeland of the Pecumtuck, Nonotuck, and Western Nipmuc peoples. We acknowledge our responsibility to confront the legacies of dispossession and systemic racism that are part of our collective history, and we affirm and celebrate the many legacies that inspire us. We have drawing materials and other ways to occupy hands on the tables in the back. Restrooms are through this doorway and down the hall, and there is also a single-use restroom if you go straight ahead after you go through the doorway. So, do you need to have your photo taken for the online directory? After the service, please look for Melinda Ewan in the hallway opposite the Rainbow Room, where the social hour is held, to have Melinda take your photo to enter into the online directory. This will greatly help Reverend Melissa to get to know us quickly and also other members and visitors to USNF. Thank you. We're here to celebrate, to reflect, and to support one another. It is good to be together. And now, let's enjoy our prelude.
See it. Oh, I see.
I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. There is hurting in my family, there is sorrow in all across the nation there is wailing the whole world round. But I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. May the children see more clearly. May the elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us, even though they burn our eyes. But I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. Give me a mighty arm to hold my confusion. Give me a desert to hold my tears. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. For I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change.
Good morning. It's wonderful to see all of you. I'm Rebecca Curzon, your delegate to this year's General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association. I am a white, older, cisgender woman with mostly white hair, dark-framed glasses, wearing a brown and white dress. And that is how the Accessibility and Inclusion team at GA asked everyone who was speaking on camera to identify themselves. This Sunday service is a little different. It's our opportunity to understand decisions from GA reflecting on what is top of mind nationally in our movement, and to consider whether any of these decisions might shape some of our society's work in time to come. GA abides by an inclusive and democratic process, and that process cascades to us today.
We unmuted it so that now they can hear
to
her.
rise in body or spirit for our chalice lighting. Then we'll remain standing for the singing of our opening hymn. Let's join in unison to speak these two statements of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. All progress is precarious, and the solution of one of our problems brings us face to face with another problem. The hope of a secure and livable world lies with disciplined nonconformists who are dedicated to justice, peace, and brotherhood.
Oh, so sorry. The mic over here. Yeah, there you go. All right, and I'll stand here. Who cares about you?
Far. Nobody can hear it anyway. Hello there. Except I don't have the music. Let me just grab it. We are just mirroring normal General Assembly process. You all know this one. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul, river in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. And now a little coda. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul.
And now it's time to greet one another. Those of you who are physically present, please extend a welcome to those who are near you and take a moment to greet those joining us online by waving at the camera if we're beyond that. Associate minion. That's better.
Such dignity.
I know. I like mini minion.
That's a pretty good word.
It is.
As usual, everyone comes in about like 2 or 3 minutes after.
Yes, right. So you're never sure how many people are going to be here.
This is good. This is a quorum.
Yeah, for sure.
A summer
A
quorum.
summer, yeah. Our summer services have become so well attended.
Yeah, I'm just more in the fact that we're in the Peacock room next week. But otherwise, we're in this.
Maybe the same thing will happen, although they probably cancel because of the heat. It's a blessing to be together. The meditation this morning is from Nelson Mandela. I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps along the way, but I have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. I have taken a moment here to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds me, to look back on the distance I have come. But I can only rest for a moment, for with freedom comes responsibilities, and I dare not linger, for my long walk is not yet ended. Our generosity makes everything we do possible, and it helps us support organizations and movements in the greater community. Half of the proceeds of each week's offerings support the Society's operating budget, and half are shared outside our walls. You may mail in a check, donate online, or put your contribution in one of the plates that the ushers will pass. The plates are over here. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Am I doing it the wrong way?
It's going that way, but
No, but I can't.
this is really, there we go, okay, all right. This is like, let's see. There, okay. We'll get this, thank you so much. You know, when Rebecca offered to be our lone delegate to the GA this year, this is following last year's mob scene where we sent like 5 delegates and a few other people to the Baltimore UA because it was, you know, within hiking distance. But Rebecca has done us such an enormous service in doing this. She did not know when she volunteered how much more would be required of her than representing us. Now she is a roadie for the sound technicians here as well. All right, here we go. This is a long, long song, so I cut it in half. But we love it. Even though the weather is not November, I thought it might be cheering to think about cold weather on a week like this. Now October is growing thin and November's coming home. You'll be thinking of the season and the sad things that you've seen. And you hear that old wind walking here and singing high and fair. You could swear he's out there singing of your sorrow. Oh, my Joni, don't you know that the stars are swinging slow and the seas are rolling easy as they did so long ago. If I had a thing to give you, I would tell you one more time that the world is always turning toward the morning. It's a pity we don't know what the little flowers know. They can't face the cold November, they can't take the wind and snow. Put their glories all behind them, bow their heads and let it go. But you know they'll be there shining in the morning. Oh, my Joni, don't you know that the stars are swinging slow and the seas are rolling easy as they did so long ago. If I had a thing to give you, I would tell you one more time that the world is always turning toward the morning. Now, my Joni, don't you know that the days are rolling slow and the winter's walking easy as he did so long ago. If that wind would come and ask you, why's my Joni weeping so? Won't you tell him you're just weeping for the morning? Oh, my Joni, don't you know seas are rolling easy as they did so long ago. If I had a thing to give you, I would tell you one more time that the world is always turned toward the morning. I think so. Maybe. All right, we'll see. Thank you. It's terrific to see all of you here and to know you're interested in hearing about GA. Describing the proceedings of the business portion of a conference, virtual no less, could be a bit like listening to the televised play-by-play of a golf tournament. But as your delegate to GA, one of nearly 1,300 delegates from more than 400 congregations across 46 states and provinces, I felt a responsibility to absorb as much as I could, and honestly, I found it interesting. I hope as I share this recap that you get a good sense of what emerged that may be vital for our denomination now. I'll cover things topically, though not in agenda order, because that would be tedious. I'd like to pause a couple of times to hear your thoughts and your questions, although please understand that I will not be taking any notes on anything you say, and I may not have any answers to your questions, but we can all listen and share and perhaps take away with us ideas for later action. Before I dig in, let me set the scene. GA 2026 was held in two distinct parts, the business and meet the moment programming. The business was conducted entirely on Zoom over 3 days. That was the portion I experienced. Then after a break, meet the moment programming brought delegates and regular GA registrants together for 3 more days. Programming was in person for those who could travel to Louisville or to some of the other remote congregations that held their own programming. There were virtual options for those who couldn't travel. I did not participate in this part of GA, except to view the worship service on YouTube last week. So I first want to thank the people who made GA happen. It is complex, to say the least, to create a virtual experience that enables more than 1,000 people to find information, understand procedures, follow them, challenge them, express their views, ask questions, and vote. The organizers took inclusivity and accessibility seriously. 2 co-moderators, a parliamentarian, and many teams performed their responsibilities on screen and off. It was not perfect, and it was good as it needed to be. The work got done. So now to the work itself. I'll begin with the topic of youth and young adults and their relative absence in our midst. The agenda included 2 resolutions related to youth. The first was entitled, somewhat bluntly, "Where are the youth?" That resolution calls on the association to provide resources to recruit, train, and cultivate youth leadership and attendance. It calls for constructive action to get to 200 youth at next year's GA in San Jose. The second youth-related resolution was entitled, "Gratitude for UUA Support of Youth and Emerging Adults." That resolution thanks the UUA for its commitment to youth and emerging adults and calls for their full inclusion at all levels of leadership. So both resolutions passed with strong margins. I guess that might be expected. But the online commentary gave context for why these 2 statements of direction reflect realities that are far from simple.
We know that there is an ongoing challenge to figure out what a refreshed national youth movement could look like. GA is our flagship convening, and yet it lacks a lot of the younger voices. For USNF, we can confidently say that our local experience mirrors the national one. Like so many structures in our society, our congregations haven't yet fully recovered from the pandemic. So much has gone virtual for efficiency and access, yet virtual GA isn't engaging, inclusive, or accessible in the way that youth and young adults want. The UUA Lifespan Faith Engagement Office, in a written statement, acknowledged that they were quite aware of the tension between online GA as an efficient way to conduct business and versus the needs of youth and young adults for connection and engagement. They stated that they are actively working to create a sustainable youth engagement leadership structure for GA 2027. The same statement said that UUA staff have been in conversation with the Board of Trustees on equipping ministers and lay leaders to grow their own capacity to offer meaningful experiences for youth and young adults. As they put it, to nurture a culture of year-round inclusion. And one delegate expressed feeling conflicted about the language in the first resolution, the language that said to, quote, recruit, train, and cultivate, saying that that language seemed to focus, as she put it, on transforming our youth to fit the needs of our faith, when what really needs to happen is for us to transform our faith to fit the needs of youth. Another delegate observed that too often youth and emerging adults are given token responsibility that feels good to older adults, but the young are not taken seriously as leaders or given actual decision-making power. So this is our first pause. Let's pause for a moment and reflect. In the words of a delegate, how can we build our congregations and our denomination in a way that invites and creates spaces for youth and young adult participation while ensuring that their voices and contributions carry as much weight as those of older adults? So, if you want to offer a comment or a question, I invite you to actually stand and, actually, Jenny, you can use that mic over there. That one's, oh, sorry, that one. Ryan speaks. That's the one we use. That's the wireless one. And so if you have a comment, please stand. And also those of you on Zoom, if you have a comment or a question, please put it into the chat, and then we will be signaled that there's somebody there.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm Jan Nettler. So I don't have a solution, but I have an observation. So some of you know, and many of you don't know, but I have two religions. Other than being a Unitarian Universalist, I'm also Jewish, and I go to the synagogue congregation B'nai Israel. And there, it's just full of young adults and young children. It's just beaming, and they keep coming more and more. So I don't know what they're doing, but it just means to me that there is a possibility. You know, we can't just say it's the demographics, because I see it happening there.
I just want to make the observation of something that I think we're doing right in my point of direction for doing more in the same direction, particularly the 4 p.m. service, that where youth were given a great deal of responsibility in organizing and doing that service. And I think that was a smart thing for us to do. It cultivated a group of youth that are affiliated with us, and I hope that we find ways to extend that, have them reach out to their friends and peers groups and bring in more.
Great. And Charlie has, Jenny up here. Charlie has.
Thanks. Rest assured, soulful sundowns are on their way back. And then another thing I was thinking, and something I'm talking about in seminary school a lot with other UUs, is we don't, like, Jewish people have an identity. Like, when you are Jewish, it's like it means something and you can point to it, and it's like an identity formation. UUs are like super nebulous. We don't have a doctrine. We don't have, you know what I mean? So I think that this is not something USNF can solve. This has to be like a national UUA thing. But to try to build an identity on top of our like 7 principles might be more helpful. If we're just like Protestant light, I don't see that necessarily working for young people. So that's just kind of where I'm at.
And Catherine. I'm going to do her first.
Hi, I'm Catherine. When I proselytize, I don't know if that's the right word, for the UU, what I tell people that I know is that this is a congregation that's open to you searching out your own concept of God. It's not going to be defined for you. And that is a selling point to people I know. Like, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, find your own higher power. Like, I know, the people that I know are interested in that. So that's exactly what they're looking for.
All right. Oh, sorry. Oh, Peter, yes.
I don't have any answers either, but I do have a few observations to make. For several years, I was active on the RE committee, and I taught Sunday school. And what we were trying to do during that time, the RE committee people, who reflected the congregation quite well, I thought, was to explain the principles and advantages of Unitarian Universalism to people who had no idea what the problem was or if there was a problem. They had their own way of looking at things. And they were there in these classes because their parents told them to come. It was not something that had attracted them. It was something that they were having imposed on them, if I could use that term. And I think what we have to do is somehow make Universalism and Unitarianism more attractive to young people by demonstrating that our goals are their goals and arousing them to action and to want to be part of what we're doing. Anyway, no solution, but some observations.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, one more. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Carmen Juno. I just have 2 thoughts. One, let's ask the youth what would draw them. And 2, let's go to the synagogue and ask them what has made such a vital program.
Thank you for your thoughtful comments. Now let's move on to 2 justice-related topics: immigrant justice and the environment. Each of these topics was the subject of a so-called Action for Immediate Witness, or AIW. The AIW process allows UUs to respond quickly to urgent social issues. AIWs that are adopted by GA, by the delegation, are used by congregations in local efforts. Congregations are empowered to take and recommend action through other departments of the UUA or through other UU groups. So after I describe these two topics, we'll take another short break to reflect and comment. Starting with immigrant justice, that AIW was entitled All Eyes on Delaney Hall. The intent of this AIW is to mobilize people to be physically present on June 21st of this year, which was right at the end of the week where all this was happening, at Delaney Hall, an ICE detention facility in Newark, New Jersey. The purpose is solidarity with detainees who were on hunger and labor strikes there and in 7 other facilities, and to present a unified body in opposition to detention, retaliation, and cruelty. The AIW calls for a second action of witness on July 13th, and also calls for education and creating networks of support. This AIW generated significant debate. Absolutely, it was viewed as well-intentioned and expressing a passionate desire to oppose the horrendous conditions of detainees. But there was a large concern that the mobilization that was called for would cause harm and would undermine strategies already being pursued by people on the ground, including by those who were directly affected. The harm that was feared related to safety and security, not only of those responding to the call, but of those family and community members who are directly affected. There was concern that the authors of the AIW lacked understanding of what was happening there in real time. Without due attention and deference to existing organizations who were already engaged, the effort would fail or worse. Many urged coordination, planning, safety, and deep relational work in order not to perpetuate harm. Another commenter stressed the importance of following the leadership of formerly detained persons and their families. To make a long story less long, the AIW was not adopted. However, the next day, the authors offered a resolution, an alternative statement that honored the original intent, but that leaned into partnership. The resolution was entitled, Reaffirming Our Commitment to Immigrant Justice and Relationally Grounded Organizing. As the text of this resolution said, we affirm that the greatest midwife of justice is relationship. We ask the congregations and our association to reaffirm our demonstrated commitment to organizing in community, prioritizing relationships, and centering the most impacted. Now to the AIW on the environment. The title is Defend Against the Assault on Environmental Protections, Public Lands Rules and the Endangerment Finding. Perhaps it's self-explanatory. It frames the urgent need for action due to current federal policies. It calls for opposing rollbacks to protections and public lands rules. It specifically names the harm from rollback of the endangerment finding, which was the conclusion published in 2009 by the US EPA that greenhouse gas emissions are air pollutants under the Clean Air Act, and thus endangering public health and welfare. The resulting discussion can be summarized as yes, yes, and yes. The delegates voted to affirm this AIW. It has the effect of directing the UUA's public witness on this issue in the coming year. Okay, those are the two justice-related, justice-seeking actions of business at UUA. So let's take a pause here in case we have comments or questions related to either of these two subjects. It looks like we have Patty back there.
I'm Patty Cowden. I'm speaking to the first one. There are many, many groups that are in this area that are demonstrating and protesting, and they're not all in contact with each other. We would be a very, very powerful force if we could bring everyone in contact together and work with them, rather than having all the splinters around doing things, and the news covers, oh, so many people were there, but it's not as powerful. That's all.
Yeah, I'll echo that. And we have an opportunity with our new minister coming in who's very interested in building interfaith coalition. And we just have a wealth of that right here in Northampton. We have been very fortunate to have built partnerships with a lot of the immigrant justice groups like Luce and Pioneer Valley Worker Center, ACLU, and we need to continue to do that. It's just not easy, but it's great that we have somebody coming in who's very interested in doing that. The other quick observation is, did you experience that as a healthy process? Because it sounded like it was the way it took place, and I'm just kind of curious firsthand how you experienced it.
It was healthy and it was instructive. It was healthy in the sense that it was respectful and balanced, and the processes by which people could express pro opinions or con opinions, and sometimes opinions that didn't fall into either camp, which was a bit of an issue. But that process was balanced and equitable. And the timetable, the turnaround time for submitting an action for immediate witness, I think meant that the people who authored it might have changed it between when they submitted it, the deadline, and when it was presented. But there was no opportunity to do that. So the discussion that occurred lifted up the need for relational work and the danger of rushing in without adequate preparation. And the authors, I think, acknowledged that, and that's why they resubmitted as a resolution in support of the work that is happening, but leaning into relationship. Oops, yeah, sorry, Kate, I think, or Farnsworth.
Florence Lobenstein. There's been more than a year effort to close down an ICE facility in Florida, which they call Alcatraz for some reason. And after being present outside that with great regularity, I don't know if it's every day or every Friday or whatever, and working very closely with people inside as well as their families, they have succeeded in closing that facility, and now there are 47 others to be closed. And they were able to provide direct legal assistance to 60 of the countless people inside. But that was an example of working very powerfully and very closely in relationship with those affected.
Hi, Kate Krookemeyer. I'm the past president, so I'm still a member of the president's team. And I just wanted to say something about how these actions of immediate witness have a direct effect for us as a congregation, which is to say that very often the board and the president's team are asked to take a stand on behalf of the congregation. And we created basically a social justice request protocol to figure out what are the circumstances under which we can do that, because I would say that every time we're asked that, it's always something that we personally think is great, But we're often, before we had this protocol, unsure about whether we could say the congregation would take a stand on something. And so part of what the protocol says we do is we look at whether the congregation has taken a stand on the issue before, very explicitly, but we also look at whether the denomination has taken a stand. So in this case, when there is an action of immediate witness that the denomination nationwide or, worldwide has voted on, we can say, yes, this is something that USNF would stand behind because our denomination has stood behind this in a robust public process where it was discussed. And so that's a really nice piece of guidance sometimes that we can look to the UUA for and know, because we're not going to call a congregational meeting every time somebody wants USNF to take a stand on something, but this is a way that we can try to parse through some of those questions. And often we end up saying to someone who makes that request, well, we agree with you, but we don't think the congregation has taken a stand, so you personally could take a stand, or your committee could take a stand, but we don't feel like USNF as a whole will. But if an action of immediate witness has passed, that's typically a situation in which we say, yeah, USNF could say that the congregation affirms this decision.
We have time for one more comment? Oh, and we have somebody on Zoom, so we'll do one here and then one on Zoom.
I just wanted to know if that second resolution on immigrant justice passed.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
I'm sorry I didn't clarify that. Thank you for asking, Catherine.
And on Zoom, we had a comment from Robert who says, children, teens live in the context of a family. The root cause is parents are not finding, considering, or understanding UUA. Children and young teens do not come to any church on their own. They follow their parents to church most of the time and not vice versa. The other challenge is not to bend ourselves into a pretzel to attract young people or their parents. That does not preclude an adaptation to attract or going with the flow of the natural evolution of our understanding and living our UUA principles and values.
Thank you. Okay, I have two last items of business I'd like to report to you. The first concerns, is there a little echo here? The first concerns transitional ministries. In other words, interim ministries and developmental ministries, which can present challenges because of their unique nature, supporting congregations who are undergoing significant change. A particular congregation had direct experience with UUA processes in connection to their own transitional ministry. And that experience led a member of that congregation, with support from other members, to propose action for consideration at GA. The upshot of all this was the adoption of a resolution that calls for the UUA Board of Trustees to establish a task force. The task force would review policies and rules of the Ministerial Fellowship Committee pertaining to interim and developmental ministries. The task force would recommend changes to reflect the unique circumstances of transitional ministry. The authors also had proposed a change to the UUA bylaws on this topic, and that proposal was not adopted. So let me add, how this particular matter transpired was a little messy and a lot instructive. I felt that the two proposed actions probably emerged from a complicated and emotional situation at that congregation. Understandably, those proposals, though, were a bit confusing and they conflated issues, but the discussions were balanced and respectful, and the outcome seemed like a very reasonable step forward. The final item for today's recap was a resolution in response to a report from the UUA Commission on Appraisal. The resolution asks the Commission to consider how the UUA can address concerns of UUs affected by crises in the Southwest Asia and North Africa region. The resolution opens the door to attention around Gaza. and the intense pain and sadness that so many UUs are experiencing through that crisis. I want to quote a portion of the resolution. It's a little long, but please bear with me because I believe it explains well what this is intended. In this quote, the region of Southwest Asia and North Africa goes by the acronym SWANA, S-W-A-N-A. And the author refers to the Commission's intention to look at issues that the UUA has concerned itself with, but which may still be unresolved. Here's the quote. Widespread concern about the SWANA region crisis is an unresolved issue that echoes in the present. Our association has no formal structure for addressing SWANA region concerns other than its membership in the Coalition of Churches for Middle East Peace. No GA 2026 reports mentioned Churches for Middle East Peace, Palestine, or Gaza. While UUs hold the line against Christian nationalism's deadly impact in the US, we recognize that its foreign policy is also deadly. It intersectionally impacts people here and in other lands. US faculty were beaten and fired, and students arrested, imprisoned, and deported for speaking about the genocide in Gaza. It continues, many UUs have ties to bombarded lands. Many UUs are in deep grief. Younger generations expect progressive institutions to be vocal. We ask the Commission to include engagement with how the UUA can better include and respond to morally injured UUs regarding the crisis in the SWANA region. Okay, that was a lot. Youth, immigrant justice, the environment, transitional ministry procedures, Gaza. We have a moment for any comments on those items before I close and we can close our service. Kathy?
I don't know if it struck anyone else, but when you read that last quote about SWANA in Gaza, it acted as if the moral harm that we should be addressing is how bad I feel. And I didn't see anything in there about actually concretely addressing what caused the problem, how it might be alleviated, how we might help people. It just seemed a little bit of navel gazing to me.
Yeah, I'm really glad that came up. I've been involved in a few informal conversations with people in the congregation about the situation in Gaza, and it feels like quicksand or mud. And all I want to say is that there are some people in the congregation who are very active now in the Bridging Divides movement to practice, learn skills for having difficult conversations where there are conflicts. And this is going to emerge in the fall. And I, for one, would be very interested to see if we could have conversation about the Middle East and see, you know, if in fact that is something that we can come to grips with. I'm speaking now because I felt like just letting it sit didn't feel right. I don't have anything particularly useful to say other than what I just said.
And we'll just do these final two, I think, to close.
Lawrence Lobenstein again. My assumption in that proposal from SWAMA was finding ways to financially support those congregations through these crises. And that apparently wasn't discussed, and yet that seems how we in wealthy America can often most effectively intervene in crisis situations.
Hi, Charlie again. I don't know if this is for youth or for climate, probably both at once. I'm just wondering, I don't know what the money situation at USNF is like, but if we're able to get off of our grounds, like go to Smith and start like a community garden and like help Smith students and just, I know like I come from an evangelical background and like a lot of the ways we do recruitment was not really like outwardly standing on a corner and talking about Jesus, but just showing up all the time to the same communities. And showing up all the time to the same communities was like the exposure that drew people in. So if I can kind of like take a leaf out of the evangelical playbook and be hopefully much less problematic about it, I think if we can get out and do like outreach where the youth are rather than wondering how we can pull the youth in. And I think that the youth are also particularly interested in the environment, in having a planet to retire on. That'd be cool. So that's my thought.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you who comment. Oh, there's a Zoom comment. Sorry.
From Sherry Hall Smith, I think we need to also remember other less publicized conflicts as well, such as the ones in Sudan or Eastern DRC.
Thank you. Great comments overall. Appreciate this engagement. Looking ahead to GA 2027 in San Jose, the association will grapple with a topic that has been the subject of congregational study for the last 2 years. The study topic that was adopted in 2024 is abolition, transformation, and faith formation. Paraphrasing the description, abolition is a holistic approach to systemic social change and can include the abolition of slavery, replacing systems of control and violence with transformative and relational work, and dismantling the prison industrial complex. I saw that 2,000 UUs are incarcerated, and they are part of our movement. The purpose of congregational study is to provide member congregations with an opportunity to mobilize energy, ideas, and resources around a common issue. Next GA will likely be a vote on a statement of conscience on this study issue. If we have room in our justice work at USNF over the next 12 months, we could engage in the study process. A UUA website has myriad study resources. For me, this experience has allowed an intense reflection on work that was the product of many hearts and minds. It was my first experience as a GA delegate, and I was grateful for the chance to represent USNF. Thank you for being part of this service today. Now let's join together, stand as you are able, for our closing hymn, Come and Go With Me to That Land.
Can we have a hand for our delegate, Rebecca Curzon? All right, come and go with me to that land. I will now pause to remind you that we have coffee and refreshments due to our angels who make that possible back in the Rainbow Room. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. Yeah. You want an extra verse there? Jan would like an extra verse. Can we meet that request? Let's do some dancing in that land. There'll be dancing in that land. There'll be dancing in that land. There'll be dancing in that land where I'm bound. There'll be dancing in that land. There'll be dancing in that land. There'll be dancing in that land where I'm bound.
The chalice is being extinguished. I'd like to close with these two statements from the closing of GA. These were from one of the co-moderators. The UUA is not an optional service provider. It is not a long-distance administrative body. It is not a substitute for congregational life. And we do this so that religion might serve as a bridge rather than as a bunker, a barrier, or a bludgeon. Go in peace.